If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. That? Could you please clarify what you were referring to? Why? My Master Mask costume, of course. He's wearing his Master Mask costume. Wait just a moment, Master Mask? Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as Master Mask. How is that safe? And then I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security. What? Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this. I don't recall him ever mentioning it to me either. Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets. I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Wait. That's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind. Ha! My 6th cup of coffee is staring up at me coldly. At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness! Please correct your testimony. I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my Master Mask costume. Why were you dressed up as Mask the Mask? Why? Because I'm Master Mask, of course. What are you talking about? Master Mask's trial is being held next door. Ah, yes, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the Mask issue. So I thought I should go as him just to be safe. There's no way the judge has any idea what's going on. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I expected. Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a lot longer? Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught on the safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bullard's body. What was that? Back up a second. Yes? You were the one that hid the body in the safe? Well, yeah. Inconceivable! Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Judge. What the hell was he thinking? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they take them off. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying. Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer? Ha! So you're not as stupid as you look. What? His metaphor this time was really obscure. It's not a metaphor. Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you? Well, yes. Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Yeah, because you're the judge. Witness! Make sure you add this to the testimony. Yes, sir. Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving in over the fair weather judge. I panicked and I hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes. Why did you hide the body in the safe anyway? Yeah, good question. Well, because it wouldn't fit in a drawer. That's not exactly what I meant. When I saw that corpse, I kind of lost it. I thought, if they find his corpse, they'll think I did it. Yeah, if you hide his corpse, they'll think you did it. Ha! I think you had a simpler reason than that. It's because you killed him! That's why you spent 10 minutes hiding the body. No. No, he wouldn't. That's not true. That certainly makes more sense. Hold on. 10 minutes? What is it, Nick? I just had a thought. Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide the body? And spend 10 whole minutes to do it? Under those circumstances? What circumstances? Oh! Hey, Nick! If you think his behavior was so strange, I'm gonna present some evidence. Save the game. Why don't you present some evidence that will show just what those circumstances were? That's it. I'll take a look at the court record and present some evidence. The game really tries hard to make sure you know what's going on. I appreciate this. We heard this from Mr. Delight yesterday, didn't we? There's not much in this testimony either. I betcha he's still hiding something. I wouldn't be surprised, we just have to draw it out of him. I just hope he doesn't make things any more complicated. Alright, let me like present the fact that the button was pushed. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, a security team is supposed to come running. Supposed to come running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02 AM. What? If Mr. Ron Delight truly was the murderer, he would have ran as soon as that buzzer sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way. Ha! Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He probably had no idea there were security personnel in the building. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't know about them. But, as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend and wasn't anywhere in the vicinity was not something Mr. Delight could have known. Ha! Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Mr. Delight didn't even notice the buzzer going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There's no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? What do you mean by that? Ugh. Fine. Let's hear your theory. Record the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted. That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So what are you trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client is able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer. Order in the court, Mr. Wright. This is preposterous. It was this kid, Ron Delight, who is the one. Wait, what? Ron Delight is the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene, but how? There's no fingerprints on the button. So whoever pressed the button was wearing gloves. Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? I can prove it, alright! The defense's opinion is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proved that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for. The emergency buzzer. Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before you open your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue. Now I'm the one who's clueless. It's just unnecessary. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind. I'm not doing that. I'm not spitting water on my computer. Ron DeLight obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button. I knew he did. The defendant, Mr. DeLight, was dressed as Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have had to wipe the button free of fingerprints? Order! Ah, it would seem. I've been forced to eat crow! What is it? I wonder what blend number crow favored coffee is. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? To frame Ron. Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Ha! It looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. They're onto your neck! Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 AM. And Mr. DeLight just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right? No, the blackmailer lured him there to get rid of him. The killer clobbered Mr. DeLight and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed. Security was supposed to respond. Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Hey, this game gives a lot more clues than the previous two games. They make these puzzles a lot easier. Very well then. Oh, you've got some guts. I like that in an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer? To call the security guard. The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted. Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose? Yes, although as it turned out, he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time. By his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. Ha! What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in. No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. And the defendant, Ron DeLight, who was out cold. And the 3rd person, the real killer. I mean, that silhouette is obviously... Look at me. Hypothetically, yes. Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and Ron DeLight. And if any security guards came running in at that time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron Delight for the murder. I'm not doing that. Order! Ha! It would seem. I've been made to eat my words once again. Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. I'm not doing spit takes. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait. Wait a second. I'm the one and only Master Mask, so... Nick, you mean the real killer is... We're going to drag that person in here right now. But who is it? I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. It's his wife? It's probably his wife. It's probably his wife. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Mr. Ron Delight for the murder of Kane Bullard? No, it's not his wife. It is Look At Me. Look At Me was the one who told us to go to Ron's apartment to find the blackmail letter. So it is Luke. Luke knew. Detective Look At Me. He's the only one who could have done it. Wait, but if he is here, then who stole the vase? I mean, not the vase, the urn. If he was also at the office, if he murdered the CEO, who stole the urn? Ace Detective, Look At Me. You mean Master Mask did it? Your Honor, the person being tried in court next to us is not Master Mask at all. Just yesterday you said he was. Literally just yesterday. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard. You just said yesterday that he was at the scene of the crime. Order! Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Theft and murder, which is the more serious crime? They're not even close. Murder is more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to a capital punishment. Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Look At Me confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom. Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as well as Master Mask. Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty, Master Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lord Lee Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Acme's airtight, watertight and unassailable alibi. A guilty verdict. As an alibi! You know, it's almost time. For what? For Look At Me's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial after all. If we're going to stop this trial and store that one, we need to do it now. Alright, go store them. Of course, that's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Look At Me's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal. I'm gonna save. I think it's the blackmail letter. Am I really sure about this? Ha! A bet's only good when your life is the ante. What? Mr. Wright, I believe in you. Mr. Delight. So please. I'm begging you! Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life! Can I really risk your life like this? Sure. Phoenix! What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. Oh, come on, Mia. That voice, it sounds like... Mia! Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. Ha! So that's your answer, huh? Very well, I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Look at me to the stand. Yes, Your Honor. October 14, 11:58 AM, District Court, courtroom number 5. Oh, we're gonna barge into here. LeMayo. Well, Sir Detective Atlee. I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly. Oh no, Sir Detective Atlee, you were the one who... That's enough. Hey, he's younger. He's got the same beard though. Same beard, different color. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant Look at me. Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please. Well, well, Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom. Who's this loser, eh? Oh, hoser. Who's this hoser, eh? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law. And I wish to file an accusation against this man. Look at me. Accusation? You accuse Master Mask. That man is not Master Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer. Nani? We're ruining everybody's day. Oh, what a clown show. Alright, let's save the game. Take a break.